tonight. He has to go tonight. There's no two ways about it. Graham Potter needs to be sacked tonight. It needs to happen tonight. There is no room for deliberation. There is no conversation to be had. He is clearly out of his depth. He is clearly not good enough, and he is taking us to a new low. Chelsea Football Club are currently embarking on a new low. We are going to finish in our lowest position since 1995 under this clueless manager. It is a travesty. It is a disgrace, and it needs to end tonight. This experiment is over. It must end. Todd Boehly has to finally get one thing right since he has taken this club over. Get one thing right, and that is make a decisive decision now. Make it happen. Top clubs act. Top owners act. And we need our owner to act tonight. Graham Potter has had 2 weeks to work out how to beat an 11th placed Aston Villa at home. An Aston Villa team who are, at best, dreaming of finishing in Europe. At best. They haven't finished in the top half for years. And they are coming to Stamford Bridge. Graham Potter has had 2 weeks to work out how to beat them. And that's what he serves up. That is what he serves up. We were so obviously tactically inept. Unai Emery found that so easy. It wasn't about the players. Chelsea have better players than Aston Villa. Chelsea have better players. Graham Potter has better players at his disposal than Unai Emery. But Unai Emery slapped him up on the sideline. Unai Emery is a better manager. He is so much better, and it showed. And that is why his team ran out 2-0 winners. That is why his team are dreaming on going on a European tour. And that is why my team are currently sitting in the bottom half of the table. We have already lost at home to Southampton. This is a new low for Chelsea. Graham Potter has made the culture change. Like, losing hasn't been acceptable at Chelsea for 25 years. Suddenly it's fine. Suddenly it's a project. Suddenly it's a process. Suddenly we have to have a vision. Losing hasn't been acceptable for 25 years at this club. Suddenly it's all right. We got beat by Tottenham. Losing to Tottenham hasn't been acceptable for 35 years. Suddenly it's, it's one of those things. We're building. We have to give him time. Don't give him time. You don't have to give him time. Decisive management. Decisive ownership. Make a decision, make a ruthless decision, and make a correct decision. And this needs to happen. It hasn't been this bad at Chelsea. It hasn't been this bad at Chelsea that I can remember. It honestly hasn't. And look, we've had some bad managers in our time. We've had some very bad managers, Premier League era Chelsea. But it wasn't this bad. The Avram Grant era, that was painful. Painful under Grant. Losing to Tottenham at Wembley, losing to Barnsley in the Cup, finishing second in the league, losing in Moscow. Painful season. But it wasn't this bad. It was not this bad. The Andre Villas-Boas era, that was all over the place. But it wasn't this bad. It really wasn't. Scolari felt clueless, but it wasn't this bad. And the most detached I've ever felt from the club, up until now, the Rafael Benitez era. That was a trying era. It's the worst of my Chelsea supporting life. I've never felt less attached to the club. I don't think there's ever been a bigger disparity between the owners and the manager and the players and the fans until now. When Benitez was manager, I still paid my hard-earned money to travel to the other side of the world to watch Chelsea play in Tokyo. I still went to Tokyo when Benitez was manager. When Sean Wright-Phillips was scoring for Queen's Park Rangers when Benitez was manager, I was still there. I was still determined, and it felt like the club still had its soul in the right place. What is happening now? The club are unrecognisable. The club are truly unrecognisable. And it all stems from the top, and it stems from terrible decisions being made at the top. They're on about leaving Stamford Bridge. They won't make a decisive action regarding Graham Potter because they are American venture capitalists. They are billionaires, and they don't like to admit that they're wrong. And therefore, the ego of a billionaire is going to keep this charlatan who is so average in a job. That is where we're at. That is what's happening. And I cannot see how this ends. Sack him before we play Real Madrid. I think that should happen tonight. But if you need to mull it over, sack him before we play Real Madrid. We're going to lose to Liverpool in a week. That's a given. But sack him before we play Real Madrid, because as a club, we raise our entire being for Europe. And I'm dreaming of success in Europe. But it is impossible with this fraud in charge. It is impossible. Like, Graham Potter is the third highest paid manager in the world. And he's just so, like, look at what he did today. The tactics were wrong. The tactics were so clearly wrong. We're 2-0 down. And do you know what we did at 2-0 down at home? We started spamming in a load of crosses, right? Which, I'm not saying that's a bad strategy. Right, you're gonna get the crosses in. Get pepper the box. You know, they got Mings at the back, Konza. They're going to be all right with that. But maybe you got your own big man on there. You don't. You got 2 players on the entire pitch in blue, over 6 foot. And yet, succession of crosses. What are you doing? How does that make any sense? The tactics don't suit the personnel. Like, he tries to play this kind of like unshackled football. You know, a different vision. The way that Guardiola, you know when Guardiola plays players out of position and that? He starts doing that. You aren't that. You're distinctly average. You're the very definition of average. And you're trying that. So we're spamming crosses. We're spamming them to Joao Felix. Smart move. We're losing at home. We're 2-0 down at home. And we so desperately need goals. It doesn't bring Mason Mount on. Look, I can't be bothered to have the Mason Mount chat. I cannot be bothered. But Mason Mount, whatever you think of him, even if you are one of his detractors, you have to concede that Mason Mount is good for a goal. Mason Mount is one of the players most likely to create a goal at Chelsea. I mean, last season alone, he had more goal involvements than any other player at the club. That alone means when you're losing 2-0, bring him on, right? We know that he can come on and have an impact. We know he can do that, even when he's not playing well. He did it in Qatar. In Qatar, we're playing France. Mason Mount comes on. Wasn't in the best form around that tournament, but he comes on, wins a penalty. If Harry Kane had scored, it would have been a totally different story. Mason Mount comes on, affects things, potentially scores a goal. We're losing 2-0 at home, doesn't bring him on. More goal involvements than any other player, doesn't bring him on. This is a truly dreadful season. Can you believe this? We're not in contention for any European trophy, being in it, qualifying, without winning it. Via the league, we are not in... I'm not talking about top 4 here, by the way. There's like... we'll call top 4 the A tier, right? We're obviously not making that. Then you've got the B tier. No way we make the Europa. Then you've got that nonsense competition. We're not getting in that. We are not even in contention for European football. 1995, right? You're talking Steen and that, when Steen saved us from relegation. Mark Steen, Gavin Peacock, Dennis Wise, John Spencer, Eddie Newton. We were second bottom Christmas Day. We are going to finish lower than we did in 1995. I can feel it. That is the new low that Todd Bowley and Graham Potter have fathomed and fashioned between them. Fantastic work. Like, truly gutted. But also, at the end of my tether with it, I just cannot believe what's going on. And until they sack him, this is just going to get worse and worse and worse. This is one that is going to run. But there we have it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I am actually, if you can shed any light on this at all, I'm really interested to hear your thoughts. Nice one.